Staff Sergeant Maya Reeves sat cross-legged on her cot, her sniper rifle disassembled before her on a clean cloth. Outside, the Afghan sun beat down on the forward operating base, but inside the tent, she focused solely on her weapon. Each piece received meticulous attention. The barrel, bolt, trigger assembly, all cleaned with practiced precision. This ritual had become her meditation before missions, a way to quiet her mind and prepare for what lay ahead. The FOB had been her home for the past 7 months. Located in a remote valley of Kunar province, it served as the staging point for operations against insurgent forces moving through the mountainous region. Maya's unit, the 5th Special Forces Group, had been tracking a high-value target for weeks without success. As her fingers worked the cleaning rod through the barrel, Maya's thoughts drifted to her childhood in rural Montana, where her father had taught her to shoot. She'd been a natural, with steady hands and patience beyond her years. Those same qualities had made her one of the most effective snipers in the regiment, with 17 confirmed kills to her name. She joined the military with dreams of following Colonel Eileen Collins' path, not to space perhaps, but to break barriers for women in combat roles. The photo of Collins that Maya kept in her pocket was worn from handling, a talisman of sorts. Around her, the FOB hummed with activity. 2 junior enlisted soldiers played cards at a makeshift table, while her spotter, Sergeant Luis Ortiz, wrote a letter home. The afternoon briefing was scheduled in an hour, likely another update on their elusive target, a warlord responsible for coordinating attacks on coalition forces throughout the region. Maya reassembled the firing pin and returned it to its housing with a satisfying click. The M24 sniper weapon system was an extension of herself after years of training and field operations. She could feel the smallest imperfections in the metal, anticipate how temperature changes would affect her shot, and compensate for wind conditions that others couldn't even detect. The tent flap opened, letting in a blast of hot air and dust. Maya didn't look up, assuming it was just another soldier seeking shade. But when the conversation stopped abruptly, she raised her eyes. General Arthur Hayes stood in the entrance, his weathered face grim beneath his patrol cap. His eyes scanned the room before settling on Maya. "Nighthawk," he said simply. The call sign hung in the air. Everyone in the tent froze. Maya felt her heart rate increase slightly, though her hands remained steady on her weapon. The use of her call sign by the general himself could only mean one thing, a mission of the highest priority and risk. The warlord must have finally made a mistake. Intelligence had been tracking him for months, waiting for just one opportunity. Now it seems that opportunity had arrived and they had chosen her to take the shot. Maya carefully placed the bolt carrier back on the cloth and stood, her face betraying nothing of the adrenaline now coursing through her veins. This would be no ordinary mission. The general's presence told her that much. "Sir," she acknowledged, her voice calm despite the tension that had descended on the tent. The other soldiers watched in silence, understanding the significance of the moment. Whatever was coming would be dangerous, possibly a turning point in their deployment. Maya could feel the weight of their eyes on her as she followed the general out into the blinding Afghan sun, leaving her partially assembled rifle behind, a task she would finish with even greater care when she returned. If she returned. Maya knelt in the rocky outcrop, her ghillie suit blending perfectly with the sparse vegetation of the Afghan mountainside. For 62 hours, she and Sergeant Ortiz had maintained their position, taking turns sleeping in 30-minute intervals. The valley below offered a clear view of the compound where intelligence indicated the warlord would appear for a meeting with his lieutenants. "Wind's shifting," Ortiz whispered, checking the handheld weather meter. 3 knots from the east. Maya made the mental calculation, adjusting her plant shot accordingly. At 1,750 meters, this would be at the extreme range of her capabilities. One breath of wind could mean the difference between success and failure, between life and death for countless future coalition soldiers. Their radio crackled softly. "Nighthawk, this is Watchman. Target vehicle approaching from the south. ETA 5 minutes. Maya's heart rate remained steady as she peered through her scope. The mission parameters were clear. 1 shot, 1 kill, immediate extraction. General Hayes had emphasized the strategic importance. Eliminating this target would disrupt the entire regional command structure of the insurgency. A convoy of 3 vehicles appeared on the dirt road, kicking up dust that glowed orange in the setting sun. Maya focused on the middle vehicle, a black SUV with tinted windows. "Confirm visual on target vehicle," she whispered into her mic. The response came immediately. "Negative confirmation on HVT. Stand by." Minutes passed. The vehicles entered the compound and disappeared from view. Maya remained motionless, controlling her breathing, waiting. Suddenly, Ortiz tensed beside her. Movement. 3 o'clock. Maya shifted her scope slightly. A patrol of 4 armed men was moving along the ridge, less than 200 meters from their position. They hadn't been spotted yet, but discovery was imminent. "Watchman, we have company," Ortiz whispered urgently. "Hold position. Target expected to emerge in 2 minutes." Maya felt sweat beading on her forehead, despite the cooling evening air. The patrol was moving methodically in their direction. If they were discovered, not only would the mission fail, but extraction would be nearly impossible. "They're getting closer," Ortiz hissed, his hand moving to a sidearm. "Wait," Maya commanded, her eyes never leaving the scope. The compound doors opened. A group of men emerged, surrounding a central figure, the warlord. Maya recognized him immediately from the intelligence photos. He was gesturing animatedly, clearly displeased about something. "Target confirmed," she breathed. At that moment, one of the patrolling guards shouted, "They've been spotted." "Take the shot," Ortiz urged, drawing his weapon. Maya blocked everything out. The approaching danger, Ortiz's tension, even her own heartbeat. The world narrowed to her scope, the target, and the environmental factors affecting her bullet's path. She exhaled slowly, squeezing the trigger at the perfect moment between heartbeats. The rifle kicked against her shoulder. Through the scope, she watched the warlord collapse. Confirmation. Gunfire erupted from the patrol. A bullet struck the rock inches from Maya's head, showering her with fragments. "Move!" Ortiz shouted, returning fire to cover their retreat. They scrambled backward, abandoning their position as bullets ricocheted around them. Maya clutched her rifle, sliding down a steep incline toward their emergency extraction point. A cry of pain made her turn. Ortiz had been hit, blood spreading across his thigh. "Leave me," he gasped, pressing a hand to the wound. "Complete the mission." Maya grabbed his vest. "No one gets left behind." The radio crackled again. "Nighthawk, extraction compromised. Primary LZ is hot. Proceed to secondary. You have 15 minutes. Maya hoisted Ortiz to his feet, supporting his weight as they moved through the gathering darkness. Behind them, voices shouted in Pashto as more fighters joined the pursuit. The secondary extraction point was 3 kilometers away, across exposed terrain. Ortiz stumbled, his face pale from blood loss. "I'm slowing you down." Maya tightened her grip. Then we both moved slower, but we moved together. Ahead lay uncertain terrain and determined enemies. Behind them, the successful mission that might not matter if they couldn't make it to extraction alive. The helicopter thundered through the night sky, banking sharply as it cleared the mountain range. Inside, Maya pressed a field dressing against Ortiz's leg wound, her own shoulder bleeding where a bullet had grazed her during their desperate run to the extraction point. The mission was complete, but at a cost neither had anticipated. "His pulse is steady," the medic shouted over the roar of the rotors. "He'll make it." Maya nodded, finally allowing herself to exhale fully for the first time in nearly 72 hours. They had made it to the secondary extraction point with less than 2 minutes to spare, Ortiz barely conscious as she half-carried, half-dragged him the final kilometer. The pursuing fighters had closed to within 300 meters when the Black Hawk appeared over the ridge, guns blazing to provide covering fire. The pilot's voice crackled through her headset. "FOB in 20 minutes, Staff Sergeant." Maya leaned back against the vibrating fuselage, her muscles aching with fatigue. The shot she'd taken, 1,750 meters in shifting winds with hostiles closing in, would be discussed in sniper schools for years to come. But all she could think about was Ortiz's pale face and the trail of blood they'd left behind. 3 days later, Maya stood at attention in the command center as General Hayes pinned the Bronze Star with V device for valor to her uniform. The citation mentioned her extraordinary heroism and precision marksmanship under extreme duress, but made no mention of the intelligence that had led them to the target or the strategic impact of the mission. The operation has disrupted the entire regional command structure, Hayes told her privately after the ceremony. We've intercepted communications indicating widespread confusion among the insurgent cells. You've saved countless lives, Nighthawk. Maya nodded, but her thoughts were with Ortiz, who had been evacuated to Germany for surgery. His leg was saved, but his days as a field operator were over. That evening, she sat alone outside her tent, cleaning her rifle once again. The familiar ritual brought no comfort this time. Each piece she disassembled carried the weight of what had happened, what she had done. The shot itself had been perfect, but the mission had nearly failed in the aftermath. Mind if I join you? Maya looked up to see Captain Reynolds, her company commander, standing nearby. Sir, she acknowledged, making room on the bench. He sat beside her, watching as she worked. I spoke with Ortiz's doctors. He's asking about you. He saved my life, Maya said quietly. When that second patrol flanked us during extraction, he spotted them first. Reynolds nodded. That's what partners do. He paused. Command wants you to train the new sniper recruits when you get back stateside. Your experience is too valuable to keep in the field. Maya's hands stilled on her weapon. The offer was both an honor and a removal from the front lines, recognition and limitation in equal measure. I need to think about it, sir. Of course. He stood to leave, then hesitated. You know, Colonel Eileen Collins once said that sometimes the hardest part of leadership is knowing when to step back and guide others forward. After he left, Maya reassembled her rifle with practiced precision, each component sliding perfectly into place. The weapon that made her a legend now felt different in her hands, heavier with responsibility, lighter with possibility. 2 weeks later, she stood before 12 new sniper candidates at Fort Benning, her combat fatigues pressed and her Bronze Star conspicuously absent from her uniform. On the wall behind her hung a map of Kunar Province, and beside it a photo of her team including Ortiz, who was now instructing from a wheelchair at the Tactical Operations Center in Germany. The most important shot you ever take, she told him, isn't about distance or wind or enemy position. It's about what happens after you pull the trigger, how you handle the consequences of your actions. As the recruits watched with rapt attention, Maya field stripped her rifle with fluid grace, the same movement she'd been performing when General Hayes had called her call sign and changed her life forever. The difference now was that she understood what it truly meant to be Nighthawk, not just a precision instrument of war, but a guardian of those who would follow in her footsteps.